What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Tuesday Track Talk podcast, episode number 12. Champ Blaney, number 12. We are the Three Stones Pit Crew. I am your Gasman, Cameron.
Your Jackman, Kellen.
And I'm your tire changer, Cam.
And on this week's episode, feels like we've been live on the channel. We put out some bonus content, so it doesn't feel like too long ago that we've been convened talking about racing. But we're going to do a little Snowball recap, talk about the Snowball Derby down in Pensacola, Florida. And then the heavy hitter conversation this week is going to be a sad one. And we're going to have a debate and debacle on if you had to watch one series the rest of your life, what would it be and why? So kind of a sad conversation, if conversation we hope we never have to have. So yeah, I feel like we're gonna be a good debate. Hopefully we got some surprises, but as I mentioned earlier, hasn't been too long since we've convened. We've been putting out bonus content for the people. You guys were live. What's new in the last 48 hours?
That was fun. I enjoyed the live thing, just kind of hanging out, and especially getting to interact with any of the people that hopped in the chat. That was fun to watch, bringing them kind of a live reaction to what was a crazy end of the Snowball Derby. So something new, something different. If you got ideas, shoot them our way for that. That was just hey, let's see what happens. Kind of agreeing around at it, but other than that, I got some brand new Goodyear stickers on the vehicle today. So
hey,
we're locked and loaded for this whole deal. So, but yeah, other than that, no, good. That was fun. I enjoyed that. So
yeah, that was real fun. Just again, having that conversation with everybody that was chiming in the comments. I know a lot of times we're in the group chat going back and forth on races, but it was actually kind of neat to have that actual face-to-face conversation and live reaction with each other. I was also thoroughly surprised when we got to the end of that race, how many people were tuned in to the live stream and viewing with us. So it's really cool to see how many people were tuned in for that. And yeah, no, it was a blast. And I'm looking forward to doing another one of these in the future, maybe in the near future.
next weekend, hopefully.
Hey, oh,
Yeah, so
coming weekend.
Yep.
obviously Gasman, I was not quite in the live, but I was alive and well in the comments section. So no, I thought that was an awesome experience for you guys, and obviously I watched the majority of it. So I think that's going to be something we're going to just continue to try to do. And like we said, we don't have a ton of brains up top, so we're learning on the fly. We're going to give everything our best crack, have fun while we're doing it, and just continue to do it. So, yeah. And like you said, not to leak it, but Gateway Dirt Nationals, there is about a 99.9% chance we got a live session for that. So it should be fun. Looking forward to that. And yeah. It was cool to see people joining in, commenting with us, and just shooting ideas back and forth. And again, just interacting with humans like us who live and breathe racing. So, no, that was fun. So, without further ado, if nothing else is new other than racing, we diving right in.
I think so.
Might as well. I think we got a lot between our two topics. We got a lot to discuss, enough to discuss.
For sure.
Yeah. So, let's jump right in. I know in lacrosse down here, definitely no snowballs yet, so that's positive. But the Snowball Derby at Five Flags Speedway down in Pensacola, Florida. Great race. But I'm gonna just go totally off schedule. No better way to start it than something unplanned. You guys got to grade that race 1 to 10, 10 being that is must watch TV, gotta be there. We need to be in person, and 1 being yeah, I'll skip buying that next year. Where are you guys rating it?
I if it's got to be at least a 9.5.
I was gonna say I was gonna give it a 9.1 out of 10.
I was gonna go like not first number that came to mind was 9.5, just
Yep.
because you can't have the absolute 10. I mean, it's impossible to get a 10. So
Yeah.
it's at 9.5. I mean, it was just so good.
Yeah.
Just so good.
Yeah. Even with the weather that changed everything,
Yeah.
from getting qualifying in to making sure the track was right to the last chance to how they handled the feature. Even with all of that being in play,
I think really
must watch TV.
the only hiccup that we had that entire weekend was the brief delay in qualifying to clean the track off.
Yep.
But you got to give kudos to the officials as well for listening to drivers and taking the initiative, cleaning it off, and giving everybody that fair chance.
Side note, no, I thought of this too as they did it. Dylan Fetcho to volunteer himself to go out and
Oh,
clean the track off,
absolutely.
the kahunas, my lord.
Not
He said,
even
"Yep,
that.
I'll do it."
You know what I'm thinking of though too is like, hell, that's an extra 3 laps of practice that I can get.
Yeah, that too. But he said, "Yep, I'll do it." Oh my God, good for
Okay.
him. Yeah, but no, that was good. Yeah, that was, and yeah, again, kudos to them for listening to drivers because Majeski was one that was very, very vocal, and he was even buckled in.
Yeah.
And I think it was a mistake, but that jet dryer or that blower went through there, and it blew everything from the third groove right down on the wall where all the guys
Yeah.
run. And I think he saw that and he said, "Hold on a second,
Yep.
let's look this over before we
And he
send it."
got the other guys behind him on board too.
Yep,
So it
for
was
sure.
that was the other thing too, is like you get the competitive sportsmanship out of each other too, of like, hey, we all want to, have our fair chance at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll go to bat with you on this too.
yeah,
And Ty's a very, very good voice to have in your corner too, obviously with his prestige and NASCAR, a little bit of the NASCAR racing, but especially on the super late model scene. I mean, Christ, who doesn't know the name Ty Majeski?
right, exactly.
So obviously some high praise. And it's no surprise that race produced as advertised,
Hmm.
and I feel like it always does. So, um, again, awesome show, and again, for what they put on down there and being able, like you guys mentioned, with the weather and being able to move things around, they controlled the controllables. What they could control, they did a dang good job
Yep.
putting on the best show they could for the fans. So kudos to that crew and what they did. And obviously, like you said, with the qualifying stuff and listening to drivers, it's not a NASCAR situation that was at New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Get a little missed.
Yup.
Yeah, send them. And then the field goes from 39 to 18 in one corner. Um, so no, kudos to them. And I again, like I said, they controlled the controllables. What they could control, they did a dang good job doing. Um, and I think that just speaks volume to them, volumes to that crew. And then obviously, the racing perspective, everything they did from that point of view was, or for what the drivers put on, was awesome. So I guess as we get into it, before we get into our deep dive topics, we'll do another quick hitter. What was your one takeaway or your one storyline that you took away from that race? Tire change or you're on the clock?
Tire changer, I'm on the clock. A little bit of a surprise name that was up front that I exactly wasn't expecting. We'll kind of hit on it later, but I'll leave it at that. A name that I didn't exactly expect to be up front.
I would I would agree with that statement. I would also say, um, from that, even up until the big wreck, the $1 million wreck, I would say the dominance of 3 to 4 cars.
Yeah.
So that's another one I would say is just you had 3 cars in the top 5 the whole day that had the best cars on the track at any given point. So that's, and to me, I was thinking there would be a little bit more movers and shakers, but to see 4 cars dominate that race like they did, that was pretty crazy to see.
And to add on to that, a lot of that shaking was from pretty much fifth on back.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of that shaking going on. But you had a lot of guys during interviews say, yeah, I was a 6th place car. I was a 9th place car. It's like they knew damn well what they had. And it's like, yeah, we didn't have a chance.
I want to say one of my surprises was I want not that it's I guess expected, but I guess anytime NASCAR guys come to a short track race like this, everybody expects a William Byron to do the same thing that he does on Sundays, to be able to hop behind the wheel and drive that thing to the front, and an Eric Jones and a Ty Majeski, which obviously he did, but
Noah
just
Gregson, Ryan Preece.
those guys that everybody thinks, oh, they're NASCAR guys going up against some local guys. Yeah, they're going to show up and just dominate the race and run away with it. Not so fast. Not the case.
That's why I've always enjoyed them coming up to like the Slinger Nationals in Kaukauna for the formerly named Dixieland 250. Now the
Yep.
Gandred Auto 250. I mean, it's them guys come up. It's not a guarantee that they're going to do any good.
Right. And they may be taking provisionals to get into the show.
Yep.
No,
Look at Slinger Nationals. You got Dennis Prunty on the pole.
Yeah.
Or quick qualifier.
Yep.
and not only that, but I think that's what makes this asphalt short track racing awesome is, you put on an event like this and, you go to a track on a Sunday in NASCAR and it's like, all right, you can count on one hand who your heavy favorites are and who's going to win the race. I mean, on our episodes, we took three guesses every week or 3 picks, and we're pretty damn close of one of us 3 picking the race winner. So, I think that speaks volumes to this racing as well, is that these guys can't show up. But not only that, I feel like some of these late model drivers, like when these guys show up, it's like a Bubba Pollard who's well known, and Stephen Ash, like these guys, like they're not laying down for anything. Like they want to, like they accept that challenge.
Oh yeah.
Well, Eric Jones, William Byron, Noah Gregson, Ryan Preece. Oh, you're gonna show up and try to think that you're gonna show me. Like I kind of love how I feel like those late model guys like embrace it. These NASCAR guys come into the races and they embrace it and say, "Bring it.
Yep.
I'll show you how to race a super late model on a short track." So I guess that was one of the things I thought is obviously some of those heavy hitters that people would look at the entry list right away and say, "Oh yeah, would probably be a pretty good pick to win it."
And it doesn't just stem from
everybody thought they would. Go ahead.
it doesn't just stem from the super lates too. It goes over to those late model stocks. The dirt seeds kind of cherry picked, but not cherry picked, but there's one guy that particularly runs it, but it's not a guarantee he's going to win it all the time. And Kyle Larson, but yet Dale Jr. run the limited late model stocks. You had Ryan Preece, Josh Berry come in, run a couple of those races. It's just you see it all over the place, and those guys that do run those series on a regular basis, like, all right, this is sure you're coming in, but I'm gonna make sure that I kick your ass when you come in.
It's kind of, to me, I take it as a kind of, you get that, and his look comes to my mind. He kind of gets that look in his eye and he goes, yeah, we're excited to have him here.
I'm ready to make a fool of them.
Yeah, I'm glad they could come run with us. Like you get that little bit, and it's like,
Yep.
He's ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
So he kind of gets that little look, and he's like, yeah, we're excited they're here, and it's like, he's gonna have that piece ready to rock.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So yeah, obviously Good job, guys, on hitting those quick one hitters. I love going off script. So,
Oh, they're good.
let's get back on script. And obviously we got kind of a couple topics, but Cal, I'll let the old Jackman. Where do you want to start with this with the Snowball Derby 2023?
I think when you look at it, qualifying was some surprises, but I would say when you look at it, like for me, the two surprises were not surprises. One being Majeski, how he finished going out first.
Yep.
He locked himself in a dominant way, being the first car on the track. That's tough to do, no doubt
Yep.
about that. So he obviously had a piece that was ready to go. But I would say the latter part of that, not the surprise, is Derek Thorne being on the pole. He had the
Absolutely.
best. He was the number one car across all of practice averages. So, Derek Thorne just loves that place.
Oh,
And he knows how to get around there. So
yep.
if he's got a piece, he could take a sixth place car and he can make it a pole winning car. Because he's that good at their at Pensacola. But I think from qualifying, you go to the last chance, really. And it was from lap one, turn one, it was gloves off.
Oh, yeah.
And they wrecked some equipment doing it. Which and the broadcasters kept saying it like, this is a surprise. Like, we haven't seen this in a long time. And this could be a lead into what's going to be the Derby on Sunday, or later. But that to me was the surprise, is just how many guys were not going to lift. And I think the Halsevar and Sammy Smith incident might have been a little bit of that.
Jesus.
But that to me, that was the surprise in that race, is guys were just, I don't want to say roughing each other up, but they were going to take an inch and then they were going to take another 6 inches, and it just turned into wrecking equipment.
I
So
was I was thoroughly surprised in qualifying. Like everybody, like it was the first lap. Your first lap was your fastest lap.
Yeah, I would agree.
And yeah, that's very untraditional what we see. It's usually that second lap, which I mean, if you look at it, I guess that is the second lap because they give them that one warm up lap or up to speed lap coming around. So I guess that theoretically is their second lap. But you had a couple guys too where you took the slowest of the two laps in order to get in, and Gregson and Fenhouse, who both pulled that off
Top
and had
five.
hell of a laps to get themselves in.
Yeah.
I have one. Would want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Obviously, like Kellen mentioned, green flag drops and everybody's got their gloves off. And I guess I want to get your guys' thoughts or opinions on, obviously, some of these guys are truck drivers, Xfinity, Cup, you name it. And I feel like a lot of times in Cup or in any NASCAR series, we're always having that conversation of, are we going too far? Are we racing hard but with respect, or are we just sending it in there and we don't give a shit? We'll tear up equipment. Where do you guys think this race falls on that line? Are we racing hard but with respect, or do we have some bonehead moves of guys saying, "Yep, I'm going to send it. I'm going to drive it hard, and if I tear up my stuff, I tear it up." Where do
I
you
want
guys?
to I want to chime in first on this one because I think this phrase that I've heard several times, especially on the iRacing scene for any iRacers out there, they know this really well. You don't win the race on the first lap, but you sure as hell can lose it on the first lap.
Amen, brother. You can lose it
So
on lap 25 too when we tear
yeah,
some stuff up. I think I haven't decided. I haven't officially decided in my mind if it was just a racing deal or if guys were just being a little too over aggressive.
I
Some of
think
them, I
well,
think,
watching that replay of that one, there was a little bit of checking up that occurred in that one too. But it is one of those too, like some of them guys like Preston Pelletier, who is starting in the back of that race, knows he has a fast car and has really a short time to do it because they were saying a typical future lap or future race there is 100 laps. So you're
Yep.
cutting that feature race in half, and that's your B main to get into the Snowball Derby.
Yep.
Nerves are going to be up a little bit.
And you're not going to be afraid to burn your stuff up to get into the feature.
No. You just want to get in.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the snowball derby effect, but I also think there's guys that were maybe just a touch too aggressive.
Yeah. You brought up Carson Hocevar and that whole deal. I mean, man, that's a tough way to go. But I also there's a lot of people are putting blame on Carson. A lot of people are putting some blame on Sammy Smith. I mean, I think on the end of it, it's both of them are guilty just because they were both in a transfer spot at the time,
Right.
and
It's a lot.
somebody could have lifted to get the other one in.
Yeah, it's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of
Whether
scenario.
it's Carson maybe being conservative on the dive in that he had going into 3, or Sammy Smith lifting just a tad in order to let Carson gather his stuff up coming out 4.
Right. Yeah.
Kosovar, and I think the streak continues. I will give him some credit. Slick paint scheme.
Yes.
I did like that red, white, and that neon yellow. So thought that was a slick paint scheme. We've mentioned him before, and my bad for not doing enough research on it. But did he grow up on super late model racing, or what's his background? Because
Well, I think a little
No.
bit.
A little I think he had quite a little bit of everything.
I mentioned it before and been the first to knock him on this scene, but it feels like this is his car and his race team and whatever, but it's just not his scene. Like I feel like anytime he gets behind the wheel of that, we mentioned it that I think last week or
Yeah, it was last week. Yeah.
recently that we were talking about what was that big race in Michigan, that anytime he gets behind the wheel of something or a super late, it's like something's breaking, something's going wrong.
So, according to the internet, it even more the Wikipedia, the greatest source of information out there. Started in quarter midgets, won a ton of races and a ton of championships in that. Raced at Berlin in the outlaw late model division. Then he jumped to supers for a couple years, won the track super late model championship there, and then jumped to the Arc Menard series from there.
Okay. Yeah. So a fairly traditional asphalt rise.
Quarter midgets. So he did a ton of dirt before he jumped up to the asphalt.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's yeah, I don't know about that whole deal. It's you look out for me, I'll look out for you. We were both transferred or going to be.
And it was it was kind of that 5-car field that was fighting for those 4 positions too. So it's not like I at least I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of competition that you had to worry about behind you.
No, there was a big gap back to fifth or sixth, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were lined up first to 15th on the bottom making laps.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess getting into obviously some of our main topics here, we're going to talk about Derek Thorne. We obviously one of us made that pick to be a race winner. But dang, after the three practice sessions in qualifying, tire changer, you had to be feeling pretty good about that pick, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Sitting on the pole, Majeski coming in P4, I believe he qualified.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yep.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I have this in the bag as far as
Yep.
our race picks went. And then, well, it's like even then too, and really it was just that car as the longer runs went on, just did not like the tires it was on. I mean, it was a noticeable loose coming out of everywhere, both in, out. I mean, that sucker was loose.
Yeah, he was working hard to keep that thing straight.
And it just he said in his interview, it just he never was able to really get that car to like those tires. Even any adjustments that they made, it just never really did anything for that car. And
Yeah,
it if you're gonna win the Snowball Derby, I mean, you gotta be on it.
yeah,
You
And
can't have a bad car in any way,
it,
shape, or form.
yeah, and whatever it was, obviously, he picked up right where he left off last year, winning that thing and showing up this week and or last week and practice sessions and qualifying. It sure looks like holy smokes. We had talked about it on our bonus content. You picking a repeat winner, or you picking the field. An old tire changer had to be sitting there pretty confidently going into Sunday saying
Repeat.
repeat. Um, but like you said, obviously whatever happened, you know, throughout that run, tires, setup, whatever it was, um, something wasn't right in like a race like that. Slightest adjustment that goes in the wrong direction sends you back miles. So, um, obviously was a solid to start. Looked to be a heavy favorite, but um, things didn't quite go his way, which that sums up the Snowball Derby. But getting into a little bit of the race here, Massey, Pollard, Thorne again, Majeski. Those were your front runners. As those front runners are kind of duking it out and running away, what's going through your guys' mind? You guys saying the winner's going to come from this group? Are they using up their stuff? I guess what's going through your mind as those four are, you know,
yeah. Winners coming from that group.
I agreed, but I also thought like Nassie and Pollard are really pulling away from third place, whoever was in third place. I'm like, them guys are gonna burn their stuff up and they're gonna have nothing at the end. So I thought they were gonna be the ones that gave it up.
you think Bubba would, I guess my thought is I don't think Bubba's been around the scene long enough not to do that.
And then Stephen Nassie has too, but it's second place is maybe trying to push that guy in first a little bit to try and get him to burn some stuff up. That guy in first is trying to, get a gap to second to be able to conserve a little bit. And it's an all back and forth type of thing. And they just never really were able to get the situations that they wanted. And before you know it, 25 laps have gone by and you burned up more than you wanted to.
Yep, I'd agree. Especially on some of those runs where there was a few cautions early where it took a little bit to get going. But then once we got going, we got those 75 lap runs. We got the long runs, and you could see who had the cars on the long runs. And those three cars in particular kind of brought themselves to the top.
Mhm.
And they just found a way to be there, whether it be their their drive and what they were doing with the car or the way it was just set up. But those guys found themselves up front when you talk about those three cars led a majority of the laps.
Yep.
So yeah, that was quite interesting. And I think at the end of the day, you get through a couple runs, you give a guy a couple opportunities to make adjustments, and then the last competition caution happens.
And that's one of those like,
Really,
okay, everybody's got the stuff that they got. Here's where you're gonna see, haymakers thrown and no more favors being done type of thing. And we didn't even get into turn one before all hell broke loose.
you had, oh my God, the list of cars that they had smashed up and down. Gregson, who was up front all day, Gregson, Thorne, who, I mean, the list goes on and
Chet
on.
Nolan, William Byron, Jake Finch, Derek Thorne, Hunter Robbins, Eric
Swalch,
Jones.
Swallow pulled
Swalch,
away
but he still
Got a
could
piece
do
of
in
it, but
there.
he pulled away. Yep.
after they got Jones off his hood.
But he
um,
sniff around in there.
but yeah, that wreck, and then again we go on a little bit of a longer run, and Obviously, Gregson, he admitted he missed a shift, and it happens. Whether he
Yep.
missed a shift or the car didn't go in gear, it's
Yep.
here nor there at that point. And then we have our little dust up at the end of the race there. What was that with 5 to go?
Before we get too far into that, how about some of the hits that were in that race?
Oh, dude. Thank God we got Jackson Boone out of that car.
Yeah.
So he did post, and we talked about this when him and Jones made a little contact, and he tried to catch that thing, and he ended up squaring up the wall, basically top speed down
The
in turn 1.
concrete wall to boot.
And he openly posted on Facebook that when officials got there, he was unconscious.
Yep.
He hit that hard.
I saw a little bit of not urgency, but a little bit of not panic, but definitely a little bit of a hurry from
There.
one of the officials. I'm like, I don't like the look of that. I didn't make a comment on it, but I'm like, ooh, something's up.
Yeah. And then even Gregson, when he got turned, that was a hit.
He got a couple of good hits.
There was another just they had him wound up going into one, and that was a hit. So thankfully, again, to all of our safety innovations in the sport, that we've got guys that can get out of the car
and can race another day.
Right, they can see another day. But there were some pretty wicked hits there for, especially when you look at Jackson Boone and Gregson and
Yeah.
some of those other guys that just get piled up. It's just you're in the battering ram there. So
And then with that front stretch one, I mean, you look at it, it's just like, oh Jesus, just an absolute dump yard. Like you were saying earlier, that $1 million wreck, just how much money is sitting there, just wrecked.
Yeah, that was wild, but
Including a Snowball Derby winning car in Derek Thorne.
yeah.
And it's you put a car back together, it's never the same as it was. So it's
Yep. For sure.
Somebody's race pick.
Yep.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, one of mine was in there and William Byron.
But I kind of to that point, obviously, it was getting to that point where you were waiting for it. It's getting down to it. Guys are starting to get a little bit more. I'm not saying this is
Antsy.
Um, hey, let's go. If you've been saving anything, stop saving. Let's go. Now's the time. But somebody who obviously you just mentioned, Eric Jones. He wasn't going to win the race, but he was going to keep his name in the broadcast, and for the wrong reasons. Obviously, you mentioned he wrecks Boone. Luke Fenhouse, Wisconsin guy, was having a good run. Was not happy at all with Eric Jones in his race. So it's tough when it gets down there. When it gets down to those last couple laps, you guys are pushing it further than they should.
Yeah.
Putting it all in line. And then, like you guys said, the $1 million wreck wasn't the way we anticipated it happen. But it's like Daytona. It's like, when's the big one going to happen?
It happens.
You're just waiting for it, and that's why you can't use the bathroom during the race, because just when you do, the big one happens.
Well, it's like you made a comment like, Cam, have you even gone to the bathroom yet in this race? I'm like, no, that's why.
But obviously that wasn't the way we expected it to happen. But again, it happens, and it sucks because it took a lot of people up. But and then right in there, we get two of the best going at it, Bubba Pollard and Stephen Nasse. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
Fair. Here we go. Here's your opportunity. Fair fall or racing?
Fair, because I think a part broke. We don't know, but
I'm gonna say racing a little bit closer to not foul, but if 1 is racing, 10 is follow, I'm gonna say a 6. Hard racing, a little bit of a block, but we don't know what happened with Pollard.
And Nasty even said it too, that, you know, he got the fender a little bit coming out of 4 from Bubba to get underneath them. And he said, yeah, I was gonna pinch him as much as I could, but he didn't drive him into the wall either.
Right. He didn't totally cut him off and wreck him.
Yep. He was just gonna make it difficult to pass, and under 10 to go, absolutely.
And that's what that clean air meant to that car.
Yep. Yep.
So to answer the question, hard racing is what I'm gonna say.
Yep. And obviously you get 2 guys that are not, well, I mean, Steven Nasty's obviously not happy because he had a good car. And that was, you know, I was talking about kind of a surprise guy up there. Especially when we saw him at Madison early in the year, that beginning of the year, he was just not good. Couldn't
No.
make a feature. You know, he had a good race going at Winchester, and just, you know, obviously that whole situation happened. A guy that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting him to be in the feature, but not that well in the feature. And he's running up front, you know,
He let a
fighting
lot
for
of
the win.
laps. Yeah.
Yeah.
He let a lot of laps. Yep, for
Yep.
sure.
So it
Convincingly.
just,
I thought one of the funniest one of the interviews with Bubba post race was, you know, was it they asked him, they interviewed Nasty first, and Nasty gives his, yeah, I chopped him, this, you know, whatever, didn't mean to, but had to try to, you know, keep him behind me, chopped him, you know, my fault, whatever. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but they go interview Bob, and they're like, you know, does this make it more frustrating that, you know, this arguably, like, this is your Daytona, you've got, you know, good cars, but this was arguably your best car, you know, whatever. And he said, yeah, you know, whatever. And then they said, you know, Steven said this was his take, you know, your thoughts. And I don't know if you guys saw him, he's like, well, if that's what he said and that's what you're saying, what do I have to say? It was just like, he's
yeah.
like, why do I have to comment? He's like, you're telling me that's what he said. Well, what do I need to say? It was just like it was a short one liner where you could clearly tell he's not thrilled with the move, but
And that's what he was saying on the Racing America broadcast too. I mean, there was those one-liners, and just, you could tell he was not happy.
yeah. So
You
obviously
could probably say for him, that probably is the best car he's brought down there.
Oh, absolutely.
that's what they were asking him, and he's like, yeah, obviously it sucks. I hate getting wrecked out of any race, but like he said, he was somebody who was not pleased with some of the restarts too. Um, obviously some of the radio communication with him, and is it his sister?
Yeah, it's his
That
sister that spots for him.
and said, tell race control, start watching this shit, or they're gonna people are getting away with this shit, whatever. So
If they can get away with it, I can get away with it. Yep.
but yeah,
For sure.
obviously, sucks for Bubba. Both had good cars, and that's what you hate when you have 2 good cars like that are running up front, running for position on the lead lap. And they get taken out. So that's winding down towards the end of the race. Obviously, Majeski gets by. Majeski crosses the line first. Wins the 56th Snowball Derby. Was his second, correct? Now he's a
Yep.
2-timer.
Second in 4 years.
Second in 4 years, gets the job done. And I threw this chat kind of in the YouTube chat. Obviously, Majeski and Toby got something good going together, but tying that 91 just knows how to get it done.
It's the perfect storm to just be dominant.
Yep. When you get Toby Noodleman, who has openly said that he cares about 2 things, snowmobiles and race cars, and Ty Majeski, who could just absolutely wheel a race car and knows his way around a race car too. I
Yep.
mean, you can't ask for a much better duo.
You got somebody like that. You got somebody who took a year off from the truck series to work as a mechanic or in the shop of a truck.
Yep.
So, not the trucks and super lates are the exact same, but obviously you learn from somebody like that. You know, when something's happening, you know, if you're tight, if you're loose, it's not the same, but guarantee when his car's not handling the weight, like he's got a list of 3 things where he's like, these are the 3 things I'm thinking, and you know Toby's got his 3 things, and like that combo together it's dangerous and it's
Yeah.
dominant. Sorry, I cut you off, Kel. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that we were talking about the truck thing with him working there for a year without driving. It may not be exact one to the other, but the concepts, the ideas, the premise, it's racing. We're trying to make laps fast, and those concepts and ideas of what to do in these scenarios might not be exact translations, but the concepts and ideas carry over so much.
And it's like even with those truck races too, you saw a handful of races where Toby was at those races in the garage with him, Joe Shear Jr. and Ty, which I still think Toby was involved in a couple of those penalties that Majeski acquired over the playoff stretch. Um, so I mean, it's just when you're around a guy for so long and so often, you could just you know what each other wants without clicking. And it's like with the amount of races that I go to, when I hear them in practice, they go out, run 3 laps, they're at the top of the board. Yeah, let's just try this, see what it does. They're just experimenting at this point.
Building an
Well,
open.
Yep.
build a notebook, and do I know what the scary part is? Like those two know those cars so well. Like they're probably on both on the same wavelength.
Guaranteed.
They could probably build a race car in a week and not say a single word to each other.
Hey, we're a half second off the pace, and they come together and go, "What are you thinking?" And the other goes, "What are you thinking?" And they'd probably spit back the same exact answer on the adjustments to the car.
Yep.
Yep.
But obviously, so Ty Majeski gets done, represent Wisconsin well. He comes across the line first, Gio Ruggiero in second, Travis Braden in third, Cole Butcher fourth, Matt Craig fifth, Stephen Nassy sixth, Derek Griffith seventh, eighth, Luke Fenhouse, let's go Wisconsin, ninth, Jacob Gomes, 10, William Sawalich. I don't know if you want me to keep going or much further,
Nah.
but I guess we kind of wrap this conversation up. I guess what was your guys' final thoughts on the results in the race and the Snowball Derby?
Kind of hammering on that top 5. I'm also looking at the MyLapse version of it. So it gives me the plus and minus of their starting position. Obviously he started second, so he was up 1 position. Uh, Gio Ruggiero started 30th, gained 28 positions that race. Travis Braden started 20th, he gained 17. Cole Butcher started 28th, he gained 24 positions in that race. And Matt Craig started 14th, gained 9. Given there was a little bit of circumstance around it, but you had 3 guys in the top 10 that gained 15 plus positions in that race.
And you got to get through that to be there. So,
Yep.
and
Butcher, even before those couple ones, he was making his way through. Travis Braden, he's won it before. He knows how to pick his way through a field as well. And Giro Ruggiero, I mean, he's probably one of the better late model drivers in the country right now. He's not going to be sitting back anytime soon. So you still had a very good group of drivers finishing that top 5 with a little bit of luck, but they were definitely going to make it hard on some other guys.
I'm gonna the Snowball Derby in one word: thrilling.
Yep.
That's I'm gonna leave it at that.
You're
56
in,
annual Snowball Derby, thrilling.
you're
You
in,
know what
and
my
you're
word
out.
was? Okay, so
What?
let's go around. Kellen just threw his word out, thrilling. Tire change. What's your one word to describe the Snowball Derby?
I'm gonna say it's one word because you could throw a hyphen in there and that makes it one word. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Must see.
Yep.
My one word, chaos.
It
You
to
just
pick
you don't know what you have no idea what's gonna happen. You think you have a good idea, and obviously, like we, in our 2 episodes, we talked about it last week. We obviously had a decent idea of, hey, here are some of the, Derek Thorne, here are some of the names. These are our expectations. But shit, it didn't take long for chaos to ensue. One in qualifying, then you get into the last chance qualifier. Like you just like you,
And it's chaos even and it's chaos for the qualifying draw. You don't want to be one of the first ones out in the qualifying draw. And that's where guys start to stress out.
Yep. Chaos start to finish
Yeah.
till the
From the
till the
time
tech
they
shed.
bring the haulers in to the time the tech shed's over with.
Yep.
that's what we should have. That's what we should have titled this episode. Chaos must see thrilling.
Which I want to touch on the tech shed real quick because obviously in the past years that tech shed has been very, very noticeable as far as taking a very long time to go through, being like, why are we checking this and all that? They were done at 8 p.m. Central Time on
Yep.
Sunday. Somebody
Yep.
made a comment. It's like, we're done already. Hell, line those pro late models up. We're going racing yet tonight.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah. So yeah, chaos is a good word. Thrilling. Yep, thrilling.
Yeah, thrilling's another one and must see.
If
We'll,
we're
we'll reference this episode next year when we get into Snowball Derby week. We'll reference this episode. Maybe that'll be the title of
yeah.
Resurface these three
Yeah.
slogans for the race.
If I want to throw this out here too, if all three of us end up going to that one, we have to do everything from qualifying draw, hauler parking. Like this is going to be a 5-day venture if we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh hell, if the big league keeps on that weekend before.
Yep.
Hey, it's a business trip, dude.
You got it.
Amen to that.
We'll write these traveling expenses off.
Must see YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, kind of, if you guys don't have any other final thoughts, I was just gonna scroll through, and obviously we were gonna do a golf score. We all picked 2 drivers. Kel, who did you pick?
I had the Campy crew in Nassie and Byron.
Van
I
Grohl?
forgot about that. I didn't even realize that until she brought up that she had the campy crew.
Van
Yep,
Grohl?
I had the whole Campy squad.
Van Grohl, who did you have?
I had Ty Majeski and Derek Thorne.
And I had the Homer, Johnny Sauter, and Bubba Pollard.
The local homer.
So a brief scroll, I had Johnny Sauter at 14th and Bubba Pollard at 19th.
Which brings you to 33.
So that brings me to 33. Kellen, you had who?
Nasty and Byron.
Byron was the 22nd and Nasty was 6th, so 28.
I had Majeski and Thorne, so where'd Thorne finish?
Hopefully 27th. 26.
26.
Oh
I squeaked by 1 point.
Oh, God. Oh man.
Let's go. I was looking really good, and then when Thorne went out, I thought, honestly, Cam, I thought you were going to be a higher score with Sauter staying in it.
I know when you guys text me the rack, he's like 2 laps down, and then you guys text me, you're like, oh, Sauter snuck through because he's so deep. I'm like, oh, awesome.
We're good. You got those 5 laps back on those cars that all went off on the hook.
So I won the weekend by 1 point, but we were also going to say that this is going to determine the picking order for the Gateway Nationals in 2 weeks, which means you get first pick.
Well, I already got the first pick in mind, so.
Good luck with that. You got to get through the preliminary night too.
Yeah, he's got a wrap for his testing session, so we're definitely dialed in.
God damn it. You picked the
I think I even know who you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The old B Chef.
Yeah, did you guys see that practice
at Millbridge?
Oh, that was awesome.
And the wrap for practice, insane. So obviously, you heard it right there. Snowball Derby. Thrilling, chaos, must see. That is the best way that the pit crew could describe it. Awesome race. That race is just going to continue to produce best of the best. And again, I'm going to just throw it out there. Those are 3 words to describe it: thrilling, chaos, and must see. So watch the highlights, tune in next year. Those same 3 words are going to be describing it next year again. And maybe next year we could get the pit crew boots on the ground. Who knows? But, well, if that wraps up the Snowball Derby, we are going to get into the conversation. Jackman, you're always scheming something. He's always scheming something.
See, but he's kind of worried too because I'm going first this time around.
Yes,
Yep.
he's got option B. Anyways, so if you guys didn't see last week's episode, this week's conversation for us was you get to choose one series to watch for racing the rest of your life. Obviously, we hope we never have to make a decision like this in our lives, and we never have to have this conversation, or this will be the last time we ever have this conversation. Because damn, that would be a sad day. But without further ado, we're going to jump right into this. The pit crew came with their series, what series they're watching the rest of their lives, and a few reasons why. I think you guys might even put together a PowerPoint. No PowerPoint for me this week. I just got everything up in this big stone. We're ready to roll. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Tire changer, you're going first.
That I am.
What series are you watching the rest of your life and why?
Well, I had better do this first. I had better get the old PowerPoint up, right? Make the sucker look good.
For the rest of eternity.
I love that.
So, yes, what series of racing would the tire changer watch for the rest of eternity? And like you said, you threw out that disclaimer. Oop, I got to get this thing to work. This is a theoretical question. I will watch whatever racing I get my addicted self to watch.
Perfect.
So, I don't know if you guys might have catch it when I was walking back in from getting my beverage here, and I've been kind of hunching over to kind of hide my sweatshirt here because it's kind of tying into what my answer is going to be. Simply put, NASCAR. I mean, I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit on this one.
Surprise. Okay.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I think we're getting there. So, I mean, there are a variety of reasons. So I guess we'll just start with it. The pros, I mean, it's a 38 race schedule, so you cover a vast majority of the year. You're gonna get it on a weekly basis. I am sticking kind of strictly to Cup for this scenario. If we're really getting to series base, I think the trucks, the Xfinities, and the Cup are all 3 different series. So I'm sticking with the Cup in this scenario. So like I said, 38 race schedule, 36 regulars or point span races. Then you have the few exhibition races to go with it as well. And you race on a variety of tracks. And I think those tracks have definitely spread out over the years. You hit the super speedways, intermediate tracks, and the short tracks. You had a handful of 2 road courses in your past. Now you're up to, what is it, 6? I think we're up to now 6 or 7, including a street course, which we talked about that in a previous episode with the Chicago street course, what kind of racing that produced and what it can be. You also got an arena track in the LA Coliseum, a track that just gets built for that. What's that?
I completely forgot about that.
Yep.
Bush Lake Clash.
Yep. So you get a wide variety of tracks that they race on, and that's what you want, I think, out of any racing series for the most part, or at least, on a very higher level, a NASCAR, a Formula One, an IndyCar. You want to see that variety of tracks that those guys race on. Being fortunate to be able to go to a handful of races, the at-track experience is phenomenal as well. Between, pre-race parties that go on. If you ever I've never done the infield camping, but that could be a blast at some places that you go to. Talladega is one that just jumps right out of the gate right away. They got the concourse area outside the track, they've always got the souvenir trailers and events going on there. They usually got sim. And you can get, sometimes down in the infield too, pre-race and get up close with the cars and see the pre-race concert and all that. With the newer generation cars that are out there too, I think it's more adept to be able to see a lot of great racing too. It handles great on the road courses. Super speedways obviously never really changed. The intermediate tracks have really picked up over the past handful of years with this car. Short tracks have kind of fallen off a little bit, but they had a test today, which that's a whole nother discussion in its own right. So the car kind of helps with the production of racing. Schedules, it's always changing, especially with Ben Kennedy kind of in charge with the scheduling of everything. You get new schedules, tracks on different dates. New tracks have been getting added yearly, and of course our NASCAR fantasy. You get a little bit of the fantasy in there. You get some betting to go with it. It gives you another reason to watch, really. And obviously that paid dividends for some of us this year, and not so well for others. Obviously with any pros that are out there, you also got to have the cons with it. So races can be expensive to go to, especially some of the at track experiences. If you really want to get down to the pits, it costs extra. Sometimes it's limited capacity. You got to you got to travel to get there. That could be a haul. For me to go to Kansas City this year, it was an 8-hour drive just to get down there. So you take a vacation day just to get down there, a vacation day to get back, hotel. Tickets can be pretty good depending on which race you go to. Like when I went to Martinsville a couple of years ago, it was $75 a ticket. So I mean, you really couldn't complain for $75 a ticket.
Yeah.
Races can get drawn out. I mean, you're talking 3.5, sometimes 4-hour races, so that could really draw them out. And this is maybe getting some nitpicky, but it's just, differences as far as, NASCAR of old to now, no consistent paint scheme. So you're always like, okay, where's my guy at? I'm used to looking for the yellow car and I can't see that yellow car. Then you always get the racing ain't like it used to be conversation, depending on the person that you talk to. I am definitely not one of those people just because I enjoy all kinds of aspects of racing. I've been able to change why I've been a fan of racing over the years as well, to be able to stay involved in it as well. So, I mean, that's pretty much all that I got. Like I said, I kind of picked the low hanging fruit with that. But if I had to pick one series to watch for the rest of eternity, and again, that's theoretical, I would stick with the NASCAR Cup Series.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Those are some good. So no surprise, I'm not going next, but I didn't choose the NASCAR Cup Series. But some of the reasons, I mean, the old pit crew's always on the same page, different series, but my reasons are pretty dang similar. So, kind of wild. And that last thought there, the con, racing ain't like it used to be. I feel like that's not for a true fan.
Yep.
A true fan that is in this is going to continue to grow and evolve with the sport and embrace what the sport's trying to do and the goals and expectations they have. Racing ain't like it used to be. Yeah, it's not. Um,
But it shouldn't be either. It evolves
correct.
with the times, and
It's 2023. It's not 2002. Um,
it's not the 70s.
it's not 70s. So can you got a choice to make. You can either ride with us, you're either on the ship or you're off the ship, and the ship's leaving. And I didn't get to watch a race, but like the street race, that's another one the pit crew's definitely going to next year. Um,
Well, hopefully, maybe next year, but hopefully at some point in time.
the street race
Yeah.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
what
gotta
do you
see.
mean you're
Well, we
not?
got to see what schedules look like. Christ, we're still waiting for half of the Midwest schedule to come out.
You're talking you're talking the same month as uh what's in July? Oh, you got a whole bunch of big races in July. The first weekend in August is Cedar Lake.
Yeah, so we can tag team, and I'm pretty sure the Chicago street race is like July 2nd again, first weekend in July, that 4th of July weekend. We can go down there, tag team that. You guys will love that. Just the
Just throwing
walking
this out
around.
there, the World of Outlaws are at Deer Lake. Late models are at Deer Creek.
Oh shit.
Yep. See, we got problems already. Crisis. Yeah, we got crisis on aisle one. I told you there were some big races.
That's why I said
What?
you got to wait for the entire schedule to come out
Anyway,
everywhere.
so
July and
but
July and August are complete
Oh,
chaos.
they're screwed. You're
Where do
gonna
you
miss
go and why?
something.
Yep.
but I will say from and the ad track experience, and this is why I think the street race is probably better or arguably better than any other track, is everything is right there in front of your eyes.
Yep.
The infield, like I could get 20 feet from the haulers. Granted, it was through a fence, but at another track, they're on the infield. You ain't getting 20 feet from a hauler. You ain't watching the guys.
Martinsville's a good one for that as well.
You're not watching these guys on the team roll out grills and fire up a grill and brats, hot dogs, and hamburgers outside their haulers. Like you could literally see that 15 feet from you. So I don't know. That at track experience was 10 out of 10. So, anyways, I could
All right.
talk.
Without further ado,
Without further ado, we're
Yes.
going to the Jackman. What series are you watching the rest of your life and why? And I think I got a good inclination. Of what
Based on your reaction, I think we're sticking to what we were kind of worried about, and we do have different scenarios, I think.
Come on,
But
tell
we will see.
Gal, come on. You're giving away content.
Yeah, this is
all right, here we go.
Deal here.
One series to watch. Here we go. I'm just gonna cut to it. Here it is. I'm going Xfinity series.
Okay.
Whoa.
If you notice, there's a commonality in all of my paint schemes here. If you don't know what you're following here, but I got Xfinity series, and I'm gonna give you just to hear me out on this scenario.
Floor is yours.
I'm gonna go with the ladder side first. So I took the Xfinity series. I think a con, and it's gonna be a pro as well, as the parity of the field. You got some cup drivers that can come just dominate. You have some young guys who are gonna struggle, and they're learning, and I get it, and that's part of it, which can be a good and a bad for both the races. And then I think sometimes when you look at it, you have a lot of, I say roster changes, but driver changes, and you got a lot of different drivers and different rides throughout the year. So it can be sometimes kind of tough to follow. Are they in this week? Are they out? Are they racing trucks? Are they racing Xfinity? That can be kind of tough to follow, but kind of the last couple of bullet points there. And these can be said to any race as well. So again, you can argue them for cup, you can argue them for super lates, you can argue them for dirt races. Some of the races can get strung out and we just click off laps and that's the race. Sometimes they could be a wreck fest. You just cautions breed cautions and you can't get out of the way. And then sometimes the tire package can just tire, arrow, however you want to say it, can allow for huge swings in strategy that can kind of create the 2 bullet points above that. So I think those are some big points to what go into this series that can be latter parts of the product. But I think the pros kind of outweigh that, and we're looking at again the parity of the field. You got the up and comers, and then you got the vets. You got the guys that Custer or Allgaier or some of these other guys that are just they're going to be there week in and week out. You can count on them. They can be pretty solid locks. The next 3 bullet points kind of go together. I think there's a little bit more adjustability and freedom with the car itself. In terms of making swings at it and making big adjustments, as compared to, I feel like maybe a little bit on the Cup side, they've kind of taken some of that away to level out the field. I also just love the look and style of the Xfinity car, the body, the nose. The look are pretty sweet. And then the five lug pit stops. I love that. Like get the crew into this. Let the crew be a big part of this, whether it be good or bad. You got to learn and grow. Or if you're on top, you're on top. So I think that 5 lug pit stop, money.
Old school, baby.
Yep. Most times they travel with the cup. So they're there night before, Saturday night, Sunday morning races, depending on where they're at. So their fan experience can kind of play into that a little bit as well. Schedule changes as well, kind of the same as Van Grille had talked. Xfinity doesn't quite have as much change recently as the Cup Series has had in terms of new tracks, but they kind of follow NASCAR, so it plays into that as well. And then those kind of fall into as well the fan experience side of things, where you might be able to catch some of these guys as you're coming and going, where even some of the Cup guys might be running the race and you can catch them driver intros or other things like that. So yeah, I went Xfinity series on this whole deal. So that was mine. And we've kind of talked about it, and that's what I went with for my series. So NASCAR Xfinity series.
I am a little surprised you went that route. I thought you were going to go with the asphalt super lates, if I was going to be completely honest.
That's where I thought you were going.
Yeah, oh,
And
I
it
was going to be my second
painstakingly,
pick.
yep.
I think one thing to add on as like the pros with Xfinity series is I think a good amount of times they probably put on the race of the weekend.
Yeah.
I
We
was
talked
gonna
about
say
it.
that we kind of talked about that.
Yep.
A series that produces could argue the best racing on any NASCAR series there is.
Yep. Yep. I picked it. I did
Yep.
it. Went there.
I'm glad we
Okay.
had the same thought though, as like the Xfinity series is its own thing and not related. Well, I mean
Yeah.
it's related, but
We didn't bucket the NASCAR series
yeah,
as
yeah,
collectively. Yep.
that
Okay.
worked out
Well,
good.
all right. Last one.
I did throw together a quick PowerPoint.
Wow.
Um,
Joining the cool kids.
hold on, whole shit.
He's elevating his product. We're learning.
Yes. Well, as like you were saying earlier, we're just finally catching up to you and Mr. Sophisticated over there.
I
One
gave
of
him
these times you're gonna show up with that t-shirt with the bow tie, the tux shirt. That's how sophisticated you are.
All right.
the guy's trying to give the fans what they want. All right, we're do 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 do.
This performance is just like how you gritty.
Okay.
Come on.
One series to watch. Um, and I don't think it should be a surprise, but
Oh, he did. Oh, come
Oh man.
one
on.
series to watch the rest of my life.
I will give you kudos for the concealment there. That was good.
If
Yeah.
you can't
I'm
see
like, the
it,
guy's got a button up on. Give me a break.
you can't see it.
I tried to fool you with McCready, so I was with you there.
You guys weren't smart enough to pick up. I pulled out the old JD Hero card.
I did see that actually. I did.
Oh,
I saw it, but I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, oh,
I
he's getting them out. He finally found it somewhere.
yeah.
But one series and what I'm watching the rest of my life is the Lucas Oil late model dirt series. And obviously, like I said, I had everything up here, my reasons. So I don't have my reasons in bullet points, but I do have my 5 reasons written down. So in order from 5 to 1, with number 1 being this is the reason, but number 5, the reason why I'm watching this, the racing, action packed, elbows up, 24/7, start to finish. Guys are always in there. You got guys running different lines. You got it's just wild. You don't you do have it happen where a race gets strung out a little bit, and guys get singled out, and it's like, okay, yep, Ricky's got this one wrapped up. You do have that once in a while, but for the majority of it, the biggest tracks are going to our half-mile tracks, and that's usually not enough to get, fully strung out and just ride along. So a lot of times it's elbows up, guys are nose to tail, throwing sliders, crossing people over. And then not only that, but I feel like, I always mention it's like when these guys, in NASCAR, I feel like if you got a 2-second lead, like it's like they can slowly, cut that gap. In this series, it's like, hey, guy gets up on the cushion in one lap, he can cut a gap like that. So, love the racing. So that's reason number 5. Reason number 4, um, I love the tracks they go to and the schedule. Obviously, being in Midwest, damn it, that's contradicting. I should take out schedule. Love the tracks. Because Lucas Oil doesn't do us any favors and do a Midwest swing. So take out schedule. But they are on flow. But love the tracks. I just alluded to it. Half mile is the biggest track they're going to. So everything's a lot of bull rings, and that doesn't allow for getting strung out. You're always dealing with a car, you're always dealing with somebody. It's organized chaos on a short little bull ring track. So I love that aspect of it. And again, keeps it interesting. Reason number 3, love the drivers. And that goes from driving style to them as people. Obviously, we got a chance to meet, some of the Lucas Oil guys at Cedar Lake at an
World
outlaw
Outlaws.
race. Was an outlaw race, but got to meet, some of the Lucas Oil guys. Dirt late model guys just seem like down to earth human beings. Again, we all had interactions with them. Good human beings, awesome people. So a lot of blue collar work week jobs, race on the weekends type of people. Appreciate you coming to the race, which I did not experience at the NASCAR race. So hence why that reason. Reason number 2, love the format. I love just a quick 2-lap hot lap. You qualify, you're in a heat race, and your fate's decided in a heat race, and from there you go. I do love the format. It's a one-night show. Obviously, they get long with when you have a support series running, but I just love the format. You get 2 hot laps, you go qualify, you're in a heat race, you heat race it. If whatever, you go to the B main or you go to the A main. So I love the format. Just think it makes it interesting. Reason number 1, which I completely, totally biffed this now that I thought about it. Because I haven't been to a Lucas Oil race, but the number 1 reason I had was the experience at track.
I can attest. Yep, go ahead.
So obviously I haven't been to a Lucas Oil race, but I've been to obviously Cedar Lake and watched the World Outlaws and some Lucas Oil guys. Done all my Lucas Oil race watching on Flow, but would be nice if Flow was the presenting sponsor of this video, but they're not. Someday. But the experience at track, 10 out of 10. Merch Road, that I could make my bank account go to 0 on Merch Road. Literally, you're just walking, you're like at a carnival, but it's carnival trailers, but all the racing stuff you can imagine. Decals, hats, shirts, sweatshirts, die-cast, everything. Doors, I mean, everything. So that Merch Road, awesome. Love that. You can find a ton of stuff. You can find regular old Longhorn gear, Longhorn chassis gear. You can find just anything you could imagine. They're also Cedar Lake, there was sim work. Get on a simulator there. Could try to set a quick time, win a prize. So the experience, the merch road, 10 out of 10. And then the last two I already kind of alluded to, and they were up there in the reason. The racing and the drivers. Cedar Lake for me this past summer was a 12 out of 10 experience. First time in a long time I've been to a dirt late model race, probably since I was a little tyke. And that, like, just awesomeness. Being right there, racing right there. And nothing better than when those boys roll up on the track and they smash it to the floor and it's like, oh, here we go. The racing's awesome, and then the other thing I alluded to it, the drivers, the pit crew, or not the pit crew, the drivers after the race, being able to go down, chat with them, get a signature, ask them really anything you want, and they're like just down to earth human beings. It was awesome. So, and now that wraps up my presentation, I didn't think about it, but like as I'm talking about these drivers being down to earth human beings, and probably a reason why I didn't put on my race team, build your own race team. I'm going Lucas Oil Late Model Racing. But one of the reasons is one of the other things why I like is like, hey, a lot of times it's a family operation. You go in the pits and you got Bobby Pierce's dad is his stick man. You got a lot of their moms travel and run the merch trailer for them. So it's a family oriented operation. And some of these guys, you hang around in the pits long enough and you're going to be sipping a few cold ones with them in the pits after the race. So that kind of shows the type of people they are. Just think they're awesome, awesome people. So yeah, I'm watching Dirt Supers the rest of my life. So
Well, let's that kind of follow this up. We're gonna go around, give us your top three, 1 to 3.
what were my top three?
Your top 3 series, yep.
So my top three I have written down Dirt Supers, 2 was NASCAR, 3 was Wing Sprints, 4 was Asphalt Super Late Models, 5 was Xfinity.
Okay.
Sorry, that was my top. I only asked for 3, but that was 5.
Yep.
So
Thought I'd throw you guys some Asphalt Super Late Model love in there, so I had to get that one in at 4.
I guess I'll go next. Obviously Cup Series is number one. The thing with asphalt though is that there's so many different things, but if I had again, if we're like sticking to the word of the question, if we're sticking with a series, it has to be the Midwest Tour.
Okay.
ASA
right.
Midwest Tour.
Yep.
I enjoy it. So I love the races in it. There's so many good races in it. I would have to stick with the ASA Midwest Tour. I would love asphalt racing as a whole, but if they were sticking with a series, it's got to be the Midwest Tour, and then the World Outlaw Sprint Cars would be number 3.
Okay.
Not
All
Dirt
right.
Late Models?
Sprint Cars. That was my first dirt love.
I respect that. And I would have gone, so I went Xfinity. Can I give him a tie for 2 between dirt and asphalt supers? Can I give him a tie? Like, how does a guy separate the 2?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, oh my God, probably
Well, hold on. What's after those two? Let's start with that.
sprint cars.
Okay.
So sprint cars would be 4, but dirt and asphalt supers, love them in different ways, so it's hard to separate them. I love the dirt. It's just wide open, loud pedal the whole time. Where asphalt, there's a little bit more meticulous to it. Where The dirt side, it can be a little bit more just mash it and go. But I mean, if I really had to pick, I'd probably go. And I kind of influenced my pick based on I thought Van Grohl was going to take Asphalt Supers. So I thought he was going to go with that. So I kind of picked Xfinity thinking we were going to get an Asphalt Super late model. And then I knew we were going to get dirt with Cam. So I thought I had my two of my top three covered. But if I had to go that way, like I'd probably go Xfinity,
It's the first one to
Dirt,
come to mind.
Dirt Supers, Asphalt Supers. So I have a hard time separating those two, and I actually didn't pick those two because I had a hell of a hard time deciding between the two. I'm like, I'm not picking one or the other.
Yeah. And like I said, with the asphalt super late models, it's just there's so many different series out there. I mean, Christ, even up here, you have the Midwest Tour, you have the Tundra series, and you have the Alive for 5, I think are really the big ones up
Yeah.
here alone. And I mean, Christ, that takes up most of my weekends up here. There
Yeah.
between those 3 series.
For sure. So I kind of picked against them a little bit because I was expecting you guys to pick those two, but ultimately I couldn't separate the two.
But I
Now,
think that also, like, with us doing this blind going into this, it just adds to the discussion that we have with this.
correct. And I would think now I think about this, and Cam had a really good point with this. Is one thing I think you miss with some of the NASCAR series is the on track time where the short track scene, you get practice, you get qualifying, you get heat races, a last chance, and you got a feature. So you're going to have a ton of time for guys to work on stuff, make changes, get better, run through a heat race, maybe run up and lock themselves in through a B main, where I think that format to me is super intriguing.
And I
So that
think
part to me was that one I missed. I'll admit I missed the format. That was a very good call.
one thing I think you get too, and Cam brought this up as well, is I think what separates, I would say both dirt late models and asphalt late models. Can't say for wing sprints just because none of us have experienced a wing sprint race versus NASCAR is going down to the pits afterwards to talk with drivers. You have that opportunity to do that after the race and be able to talk with those drivers versus NASCAR where you got to pay the extra to even just to get an autograph where you can't necessarily have a short conversation with the guy too. So I think that adds to that as well.
For sure.
And I don't know if it was just obviously I probably had some bias, thinking back to the World of
No.
Outlaws experience. Yeah,
Yeah, what a
no
surprise.
bias. But I mean, like that that World of Outlaws, like when you're sitting there and you haven't been to a race in like a race like that in a long time, and you're just like sitting there and you're like waiting for cars on track. Like we're sitting there and we're sipping a few brews and we're like waiting for cars to come on track. And all of a sudden they come out on track and it's like it's almost like an out of body experience.
Oh yeah.
Like you're just sitting there and you're like, your eyes are huge and you're just like, oh my
Your
gosh, in
your
real life.
chest is pounding a little bit. You can feel it in your chest. Yeah.
Yep.
And you can see the driver right there in the car, got his hands out, doing whatever. And then all of a sudden, when they wind those things up and the official gives them the green, and all of a sudden they floor it or mash it to the floor, just
Well, so it's like
awesome
Saturday
experience.
when my grandpa and one of our friends that we meet the racetrack, Jim, who gives us all of our radio frequencies. Jim's been to a handful of dirt races, so he knew what kind to expect. Grandpa, he's not an asphalt guy through and through, but I mean, I would say 98% of his racing experience has been asphalt. He's done a handful of dirt here and there, but it was like when my grandma and grandpa went on a road trip to Eldora one time, and they just happened to be in the area. Um, he was amazed by one, just the racing itself, how the guys were riding the curb, but he was also amazed at how well the race ran as a program. Caution came out, cars were lined up into position ready to go before the tow trucks even had the car hooked up. Like it was going. He was absolutely amazed by it.
Two random thoughts. I'm gonna do that someday too. Plan a family vacation. Hey, you guys want to go out east? I'm planning right around
Oh,
Eldora.
hey, we're just so happy to be in the area. Let's go.
plan a family vacation early June for the World 100.
Oh,
Oh, what a coincidence.
we just so have to be out here. Let's go.
You guys want to head 20 minutes north? There's a must-see race out
Oh
there.
my God.
Those are my vacations.
But yeah, and I
Yeah.
think the other thing too, to that point too, the Cedar Lake experience, why I love it is like when you get in a NASCAR race or some of these other races like that, it's like you get to the middle of the race and there can be like this like race like this, and then like you go down or you kind of just you hit this plateau and you're
Yep.
like you're waiting for
They
something to
get
happen.
drawn out.
It gets drawn out. And why I think I love just the format, because it's like you get a good mix of racing, you get a break, but it's not a super long break, but it's long enough to like give you the itch. Hey, let's go. Get some more guys on track. Like I want to keep watching this. So it gives you that good mix of racing, heat, roll them out there, interview the race winner, get off the track, get 12 more out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Love the format. Um,
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
will say one thing after talking about that those 5 reasons right there. Holy shit, am I excited for next summer? Because I mean, the crew needs to hit up like 4 or 5 of those. The Deer
There's
Creek,
gonna be so
the
many races this year.
Cedar Lake, and we are hitting up a wing sprint race when they come up. Either Cedar Lake again or they're hitting Wilmont, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wilmot,
Wilmot, Beaver Dam.
Beaver
Beaver
Dam,
Dam. We are hitting a wing sprint race next summer. So
book
yeah,
it.
this whole conversation's got me just
It's
Easy,
not even the first of the
easy.
year. Yeah.
not even first of the year, but the unfortunate part is next year when we go, we ain't going to spectators. We're going on business trips. We're going for content.
Absolutely.
But
Oh man, this was good. I love these blind reveals. These are
maybe,
Yeah.
you know what we should do? We should go to like 3 or 4 races and we could do an at track race experience, but like wear a hat and each one of us has got to put the GoPro on the hat. So you could go be like, hey, here's 4 hours of content. Here's the tire changers experience at the Devils Raceway Park.
Well, that's what we were gonna have Chase do. We were just gonna give him a GoPro and say, "Get lost."
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
Make sure you're on the fence when the races are going though.
Yeah.
We'd have to keep a leash on him a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Could you imagine taking
Oh,
that GoPro into the Cedar Lake bathroom?
Oh my God.
Or yeah. Anyways,
I
so
don't
many
know.
thoughts that come to mind. But no,
That was great. I love that.
That was
not
a good
even
one.
it's
Yeah.
not even the first of the year, and I'm already itching to get some of these races and
Yes.
get back on the fence and be up close and personal. And
A
I
little dirt.
really get the itch, like especially up here when Tudra, when Dells is well, yeah, Dells when they come out with theirs Midwest tour. I mean, when everybody comes out with their schedule up here, that's when I really get that itch.
So I did this and we were talking a little bit in the group chat today. I added a couple kind of one-offs today, like you talked. We got like the Street Stock Nationals coming up after the first of the year.
I
Who
threw in
we had
I
a
threw in
couple.
the Snowball Derby for next year as well.
Yep, and we even had I mean, we had a Wisconsin guy go down there and he was on the pole for the Street Stock Nationals. But as of right now, our schedule and Excel sheet has 616 races on it. That is what we are going to try to keep track of every single weekend, winners for this, that, and the other thing. Now, obviously, 3 people cannot cover all of that, but we are going to keep a live track of those races for the next coming year. And we're still waiting for a Live for 5. We're still waiting for the Midwest Tour. We're still waiting for the rest of the ASA Stars National Tour. There's a
Southern
couple.
Super Series, CRA.
There's a couple. We're going to be looking at 700 races. We're going to try to keep track of and cover.
And
So
obviously there are a bunch of people out there too that do a good job of it. You know,
Yeah.
we always reference our pal over at Super Late Model Rankings. We call him our pal because we bring him up all the time.
He doesn't know it yet, but he's our pal.
Yes, he's our pal.
Yeah, he's our buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
He has every single super late model race on there. I think we're going to have to try and do too is we just got he posts every week, you know, here are the super late model races that are going on. We got to do that with us too. Just that snapshot. Hey, here's what's going on this week.
Yep. For
And I
sure.
think if people haven't figured out by now, listening to enough episodes, obviously we're all diehard racing junkies, but you can see we got a good mix of our own unique niche. If you haven't figured it out, our tire changer, obviously he's at a ton of super late model asphalt races. He yeah, can't hang out with them in the summer because he's at the track. Obviously, if you
wrong.
haven't figured out, like tonight, big dirt guy. I love the dirt late model. Haven't been to a ton of races in person, but I love anytime I can watch a race on Flow, I'm dialed in. And I would say Kellen's probably out of anybody on the crew, he's the most well versed.
I'm in the middle somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just beep bop around.
You
Uh,
dip your toes in everything.
Literally. You'll catch him at the Dells on Saturday night, and Sunday he's dialed in for the NASCAR race, and then the next weekend he's at Cedar Lake, and then he's down in Davenport.
Davenport.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Sit and watch it flow and
need an itinerary for him himself. But obviously, like you said, we got a ton of races to cover. And as we continue to figure this thing out on our own, we'll continue to try to find new ideas and new content creation in whatever way we can. You know, touch on a series that we haven't touched on before. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, Cal. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and speak of creating content, and these new ideas, we got one for next week.
Yeah. If you guys don't have anything else, last thing we got to preview.
Yeah. I'm excited for this one too.
And look again, we by any means, the three of us are not very intelligent, but for some reason, when somebody sends us a message in our Snapchat group chat is quote unquote named Racing Baby. So when somebody throws in an idea of, hey, we need a content idea for the next 2 weeks, it takes probably about 2 minutes, and we've got 6, 8, 10 ideas in that group chat that we got options. So next week's episode, since unfortunately we don't even have any race previews. First time doing an episode with no race previews. Pretty sad.
Yeah.
Sad face.
Just a sad episode, honestly. Conversation.
Took us 12 episodes to get to that point.
So but Gateway Dirt Nationals is looming. I'm excited to watch some modifieds there, to be honest.
Yep.
So no race previews, but next week we are doing a certified episode of 2023 Boomer Bust. And our idea with this is we're each already alluded to it, each kind of got our own unique niche. We're all racing junkies, but we all kind of, you know, my specialty is not Kellen's and Cam's is not mine. So we're going to touch on 3 different series and we're going to go boom or bust. So what we're going to look at next week is Kellen is going to cover the NASCAR Cup Series. Are you Cup Series? Just Cup Series? Yep. He's going to cover just Cup Series himself, and he's going to pick out 3 teams that boomed and, you know, overachieved or, you know, had the more success than we expected, and 3 teams that busted, really had a disappointing year. Our tire changer, he's going to his specialty. He's doing super late models, asphalt. Don't know which direction he's going to take it, but he's going to
I got a lot of racing to cover.
He's going to find out 3 teams that boomed and busted on the asphalt super late models. So be interested to see, tune in next week to figure out where he takes that topic. And then gonna be doing it back-to-back weeks. I'm diving into the dirt super late model scene. Probably actually gonna most likely be diving into Lucas Oil late model series. So that'll be another fun one. Who really performed, who had the results we expected, surpassed our expectations, and who did not reach those expectations. So
I'm writing a note to myself because I've been kind of thinking about it. I already have two names that we'll see if they end up making my list as far as I won't even tell you what they are, but there's two names on my list that we'll see if end up being some surprises to you guys.
Sweet. I love it. I'm here for it.
And as we wrap this thing up, what final thoughts do the boys have?
I'm ready. This is fun, and I'm ready for next week.
Oh, for sure. It's gonna be I think the
Just ready
shakes
for
are
it.
gonna come in a little bit this weekend, but I think doing a little bit of research for next week's topics will ease the pain of no racing this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. Gets you that feel. Go watch a little film.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised at when we threw this idea out. The reasons we all came up with great reasons that I thought, it was just going to be, to be honest, I had a little bit of,
Thought
wasn't
this was gonna be
super,
kind of the lackluster episode.
I was less optimistic of like, hey, we're all going to come here and say, yep, I'm going to go Lucas Oil. I'm watching that the rest of my life. And then there wasn't going to be much conversation or reasoning, but
Hit it out of the park.
holy shit. Like I said, we're not very intelligent, but when it comes to racing content, we can come up with some stuff. So
Oh, with the best of them. Yeah.
yeah, obviously the Snowball Derby, can't forget about that. That was obviously a great discussion too, a recap of
Yep.
that, talking through the headlines, and then obviously wrapping it up with, you're watching one series the rest of your life. What is it and why? So hopefully we don't ever have to have that conversation. Because that'd be pretty sad. But with that, hey, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, get notified every time we put out some content, and drop it a like. Obviously, Kellen, our Jackman, will give him some kudos. He is on the content on the shorts. We're dropping shorts all the time, and just trying to give the people what they want, which is racing content. So we're trying to put out as much content as we can.
Speaking of, we hit the 100 mark.
Let's go.
We
Forgot.
hit the 100 mark.
Yep.
Thank you to everybody
So-
that is subscribed, has been watching. It's awesome. We didn't think we were gonna get that high that fast, but this is awesome.
Next up, we're going for the 1K. We're going for 1,000.
Yep.
Yeah. Completely biffed on that. 100 subscribers. Obviously triple digits. Some people will laugh, bluff it off, blow it off, whatever. But honestly, for starting this in August and not having an idea what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go with it, and to just do a cannonball into this thing and say, let's just rip and see what happens.
Yep.
Here we're sitting beginning of December. We hit triple digits. Obviously, that's not the end goal at all. We're gonna keep growing this thing. And if it wasn't for people like you that listen, give us a like, interact with us, it wouldn't be possible. So for anybody that's liked, commented, subscribed to the channel, I think I speak on behalf of the pit crew. We're very grateful for everything you do for the channel. And best way you can pay us is best way you can pay us, I guess, would be to, hey, send it to your friend. Send it to a racing buddy, and keep dropping us likes, interacting with us. And then obviously we haven't had a little bit, but biggest thing we want feedback. We're doing this for
Yeah.
you, the people. So if you want a series to cover, you got what you think would be an interesting topic or episode discussion, hit us up on the socials, comment on the video, and look, we'll take this thing wherever it leads us, and hopefully it takes us to the promised land. So again, thank you to everybody that's liked, comment, subscribe to us, triple digits on the subscribers. And yeah, awesome episode. And we will see you guys next week. Boomer bust.
Oh,